Phenomena. Phenomena. Phenomena.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of Don't Be So Brewed.
Oh, it worked. How about that?
As I pop open this old chub over here. So this is a podcast that me and my good friend here, Scott Zimmerman, just say hi really quick.
Hi, really quick.
Oh, see, there you go. We wanted to do a podcast where, see, here's the thing. Scott and I consider ourselves mildly opinionated. And I think we live in a day and age where people are just too scared to actually share their opinions. So we want to hop on here, talk about, some hot topics, things that are trending, and then, dive into things that people don't ever want to talk about, and we're going to give our opinions on them. So we're going to be doing several of these episodes. They'll probably come out once a week. We'll do them around different areas in Dallas, Richardson, stuff like that. We want to go to places. Obviously, the play on words of Don't Be So Brewed. Obviously, you can have beers brewed, coffees brewed, all the stuff that we like. So if that's what you're looking for, then you have definitely come to the right place.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and get started. I've had a lot going on this past week, and a lot around business. Over the last month or so, we've been going through a little bit of build out and having some challenges. I know you've gone through your own, Brandon, getting your shop set up, and I got to say, nothing ever ceases to amaze me. We get rubber chickens thrown at us all the time. We never expect it, and it's just horrible. We had one this past week where some equipment showed up, some pretty expensive equipment. We were taking it off the truck with a forklift, and a nice little gust of wind blew, and this $25,000 piece of equipment went crashing onto the ground.
Oh, God.
Just absolutely freaking brutal.
Anyone who started a small business knows how much that hurts your soul. When you have something like that, you order something, you're like, man, this is, especially I know for you, because we talked about this before, like, that's a super crucial piece of business for you, and it just, obliterates itself just due to a very interesting circumstance.
It does, and you can't get mad, right? Because you get mad, you get after people, it doesn't work. There's nothing positive that comes out of it.
So what would you say you do then? So I would, we can talk about this from like small business owner, entrepreneur mindset to counteract that, because I agree. It's kind of the default. Like, you can easily go to just like, F this day, F this, like this day is now screwed.
Like
if
insane
that happens,
rage,
yes.
Right? Well, what we look at is it's not the end of the road. It's a bump in the road. And keeping that in mind and, buying equipment from reputable sources, really, frankly, it goes a long way. When we reached out to the manufacturer, we told them what happened. They fortunately had some sympathy for us, and, they're getting us set up with replacement pieces, and we'll be able to rebuild this thing. Mm-hmm. So we lose 2 weeks. What we gain is about a year from now, we'll be able to sit back and laugh about how this all happened and all the success that we've endured since, which is pretty exciting.
100%.
But on to more exciting things, right? Like,
I love that you say that. I've had so many similar things. At some point in time, we'll have to go into that of like, maybe we'll share how that stuff happens. Because I think, the people in it that run a small business or that deal with stuff, like, they understand that. One of my favorite places to go, Communion. They've got a roof that's leaking right now. That's not what you want. That's kind of out of nowhere. It's something that just, and you're like, how do we not catch this before we bought this building or before we did this? And so,
the only slow drip you want is in your coffee.
Right.
Not off your roof.
And not right where your cash register is, of course. And so my thing in my office has been my x-ray machine. We've become really, really close friends. And so it has been one of those things. We'll have to get into that story on another episode.
No. Tell the x-ray story.
So with my x-ray machine in my office, when I had originally set up my lease for my office space, I told them I needed 220 volt. That was a requirement that I had to have. I want, a couple other things, and I have to have 220 for my x-ray unit. They're like, yeah, no problem. We can handle that. So we cut the hole in the wall. I'm bringing an electrician out. We run the cable. We do all the stuff. We hook it up to the main circuit breaker in my office. And the first day that we plug in the machine and hook everything up, it kills the power to my office and the 3 offices that surround me. because we all shared the same circuit breaker, and they did not have the space on the circuit breaker to actually handle that amount of power. So they get a hold of me. They're like, so they have to send someone out, obviously, to fix what I just did. And then they're like, well, we're going to have to run a whole new line all the way over to our main. That's going to cost you like $8,000. We could do this. That would cost you like $3,000. All of this, by the way, while I'm just a brand new startup business and I'm trying to make sure I'm staying within my budget.
And you can't do your job without an X-ray machine.
No, I can't get started. Yeah, I'm waiting. That's one of the things. Like, I'm not going to start seeing people without an X-ray. I'm not going to guess. So for me, I have to have it. So luckily, we're able to figure out a compromise. I say, I'm not talking to you guys anymore. I get a hold of my X-ray guy. He tells me that if I buy a separate generator, which, by the way, still cost me about $2,200, but was a way cheaper option, or the best option, I could buy a generator that basically has a bunch of batteries in it, and it plugs into the wall. It's a stored energy unit, and it allows you to plug into 110. So I did that. Worked great. Been awesome. I'm about a year and a half into business, and I'm taking x-rays on someone. And the machine craps out on me in the middle of this visit as I have someone in there. And I'm like, yeah, and we got to do this. And she's an awesome patient. She's still with me, thank goodness. And she was very patient with me because I thought I fixed it. I brought her back, and it was still broken. So, when stuff like that happens, of course, what do? So my dad's also a chiropractor. For those of you who don't know that I'm a chiropractor, you can look at any of my stuff and know that. But my dad's also a chiropractor and been in business, over 20 years. So I'm like, what do? You reach out to your dad, of course. And I'm like, Dad, I called all these x-ray people. They're telling me to fix this x-ray unit that I already just bought like a year and a half ago. It's going to be $3,000. And he goes, yeah, that's bullshit. You don't need to do that. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. Your dad's there to talk a little sense, because I'm like, how the hell am I going to do this? So needless to say, my dad's like, all right, so I basically become super, super acquainted with my x-ray machine. We're very, very close now. I know all its inner parts and all about it. So basically I figured out how to take it apart. There's about 30 batteries inside. They're all wired together in some crazy way. I took a bunch of pictures on my phone to make sure I hooked it back up the right way. Took it apart, tested the batteries, had to get a new circuit breaker, all this stuff. Got a new circuit breaker because one of them got fried, one of the panels that's in there. Got a new one, but the fuses that were in it were old, so it was still not working. When I changed the fuses out, machine fired up, good to go. But that ended up being like probably like $400 or $500 fix, rather than a like $2,000 to $3,000 fix. And now I just say a little tiny prayer every time I come into the office and I kick that thing on of like, please, baby, just work. I love you so much. I love you. Just work for me today.
It's kind of funny because when you bring up having a generator, I could just envision you with a client, be like, hey, hang on a second. Let me go turn this thing on. Mm-hmm. And like pulling it like a lawnmower, like getting this thing going, right?
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, okay, we're ready to do your x-ray.
Well, and I learned a lot. Luckily, I got a hold of a guy that he was the one who helped me. He sent me the circuit breaker. He had backup ones. And he was like, oh, well, after you take x-rays, leave the machine on and let it run through its full cycle so it can recharge. And then it'll sit there. I'm like, I didn't know that. I was literally just taking x-rays and kicking it off. And he's like, yeah, you can drain the battery doing that. I'm like, well, I just learned something. So, okay, there are some shiny golden moments here in the fact of like, please, I need my x-ray to work.
So what Brandon's saying is if you drive a Tesla, don't just drive it on short trips. Let it actually run through the entire cycle so you don't end up with a bunch of dead batteries.
Listen, just be smart, all right? And don't take the first person's opinion. Always make sure that you check. I even say that about me. Like, if you're going to come work with me, get somebody else's opinion if you want. That's fine. I mean, for you, it's probably not the case. I mean, you consider yourself the best in the biz. I do that. I do that for you, too.
That's exactly right.
I mean, I get it.
You've got to be able to convince people that you've got the best stuff.
1,000%.
And you got to be able to deliver.
So, moving on to the next thing, because I'm going to cover something first before Scott gets into this corn dog story that he wants to tell. So
don't give away too much on the corn dog. Come on.
Scott's got a cool corn dog story, and then I've got one that goes along with it too, where this is
just a couple of corn dogs.
I'll just give a little
stories.
Teaser here of like, this is when me and my wife are dating. So if you want to hear a corn dog story about when me and my wife are dating, you can hold on just a little bit longer onto this podcast. So I told Scott before we got on here, one of the things I wanted to talk to him about was the Fyre Festival. So some of you may have heard about this, and I don't know how you haven't because
I haven't.
So it's a documentary. Well, there's a documentary about it on Netflix and on Hulu. Apparently, there's two different ones. I literally watched the one on Netflix last night.
So you've got time to watch television. This is impressive.
Not necessarily that I have it; it's that I take it. So let's be honest.
Very nice. Very
Trust
nice.
me. That's for those of you who know me. Know I love Gary Vee, and whenever I see stuff like that, I always am like, I can't complain because I have the time, so I can't make any excuses there. But I was like, I love hanging out and chilling with my wife, and we were watching that. Everyone had been talking about it. That's really why we're talking about it, is because everybody had been talking about this guy, and he scammed all these people, and he literally promised this giant music festival that was supposed to be huge on an island that he bought that used to belong to Pablo Escobar, and he was going to have luxury suites and yachts and all these, Drake was going to come perform and Blink-182 was going to come perform and all this stuff. And it was a guy, his name's Billy McFarland, and his partner is Ja Rule. And so they basically, the backstory is they came up with a company called Fyre, and they wanted to figure out a marketing plan for bringing it to people and really get a lot of buzz about it. So what they did was, ultimately what their business was about being able to book talent for stuff that you want. So they were creating a website and an app where you could go on and say, I want to have, Ja Rule come sing at my birthday party. And they're like, well, it's, 10, whatever it was. I have no idea. I haven't looked, but like, it's $10,000 in order to do that or whatever it is. So it's like,
if Ja Rule's listening to this, he's going to be like, this ain't no $10,000 deal.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Listen, and first of all, it's funny. Billy McFarland has taken a big hit on this, on what he did, and he should, but Ja Rule has taken nothing. And I'm like, dude, you were in on this too. So basically what happens is they come up with this brilliant master plan. Billy McFarland and Ja Rule and their team are all together, and somehow the idea of a festival comes out. So what we're going to do to promote this is we're going to go out, we're going to get this island, we're going to have a festival, we're going to bring all these people out, we're going to have music, and then we're going to use it to literally just drop this product that we're getting ready to have, and it's going to be awesome. So they have a team hired that's taking care of the Fyre Festival stuff. Like, they don't necessarily have a team for that. They have a team that's hired to run the app and create the website and do all that work for the software and all the stuff on the back end. And then on the other side of that, they have the people that are putting together this festival that they're going to do. So a guy that works for him that has no idea on how to book talent, he says, hey, you're going to go book some deals for me. So you're going to go get, the kid's like 23 if I remember right, and he's like, you're going to go and you're going to call up these, bands and all this stuff and the talent, and you're going to book them. So he's trying to get all this talent for the show. Billy flies out on some private jet out to this island, allegedly buys it, but according to the documentary, he never really bought it. He promised to give them $1 million and then he could have the island, and he was going to pay like however many, like $1 million a year over the next whatever.
Owner financed.
Yeah. But the people who own the island were like, listen, we're trying to change the face of this. Don't use Pablo Escobar's name in the promoting of this. Well, so what they did for their promotion.
So they used Pablo Escobar's name.
Yes.
Of course.
The video goes,
how could you
we're
not?
going to have this Fyre Festival on Pablo Escobar's
private island
that he had. And they literally got kicked off that island. But what they did was they shot the world's...
You have been voted off the island.
Survivor.
That's right.
So what they did was they flew out like the top 10 models in the United States. They brought out a production team. They literally were partying, and they had people record it, and they put together this amazing commercial, essentially, a video that they rolled out. And it's amazing. It's like there's all these hot models, and they're swimming with pigs, and they're...
So what's the scam? They get all this stuff hyped up, they take everybody's money, and then nothing ever happens?
No, so it keeps building up. That's what... You're halfway in, and they just keep talking about how ridiculous this guy built this up. So he gets all these models out there. I'm pretty sure they at least got paid because this was in the beginning. He hires a bunch of influencers to post on Instagram just the color of what they're using, literally just a colored orange square. And all it says is go, hope to see you there, like go to the Fyre Festival, fyrefestival.com. People go to the website, they see the video. the thing starts getting all kinds of not paid for press because people are talking about it. They're like, what is this thing? We want to know. So it blows up. Within like 24 hours, they sell it 95% of their tickets. And this is like $3,000 to $4,000 a ticket, by the way. And he's literally targeting, his target market is like millennials. He wants all these kids that are like, I want to live a life like that. We're going to fly you out in private jets. He's promising over and over and over. Well, what happens is when that video rolls out, the people at the Pablo Escobar Island are like, nah, you're out. You can't use this island. So they go island hopping from island to island, trying to figure out where they're going to go. Can't use this island, can't use this island, can't use this island. And I can't remember, they're out in the Bahamas. They end up on this island, but the problem was the island that they end up on has some boating race that comes through there. It's super popular. The island books out like a year in advance in order to have space. So whenever they get to the island, they're using old tents that were on the island from Hurricane Harvey, I think is what they said, for their villas that people are paying $3,000 for, with beds that, by the way, the night before the festival happened, a giant rainstorm came down and made everything soaked. So everything was wet.
So the festival actually happened?
Barely. So all the people that are on the team, they're interviewing every single one of them. So all the people that were on the team and all the stuff that was happening. This Billy McFarland guy apparently was like he just has the ability to schmooze people out of their money like nothing. They'd be like, we were running low on money. Billy fly to New York, talk to some guy, come back with $3 million that we needed in order to do this. Wow. So they're literally like, hey, they would fire a team and hire someone, and they're like, we need you to be able to set up the stage, all this stuff. This is what we need. Because they're literally bringing in, I think it was like 1,000 people. One of the guys was like, do you know how many toilets we need for that? Have you even thought about that? Like, the logistics side of them bringing in a team now is like going nuts. So you're like, okay, logistically we have to do all this.
So now they're starting to hemorrhage money.
Yeah. They fire the catering company like 10 days before that was supposed to do this. And they're like, nah, screw you guys. Like, we can't do this. Every day the team is like, we have to pull the plug. Billy is so overpromised on the people that invested in this. He's like, this can't not happen. I've like schmoozed people out of like $30 million apparently is what it was to actually run this festival. So there's a bunch of other crazy stuff that happens. You can watch it, but people fly onto the island. They told them, hey, stuff's not ready yet. Go to this restaurant. Go there. We're paying for the drinks. You guys have fun. So everyone's at this restaurant. It's got a dock that goes out into the ocean. People are loving it. They're like, this is great. Well, then they're like, where do we go? I'm ready to go get my room. I want to eat all this stuff. Well, they're like, hop them on a bus, take them over to these. And they're like, they see all these tents set up and they're like, well, surely we're like driving past this. That's not it. and so they literally drop them off and they're like, what do we do? They said people, it makes me think of like when there's an apocalypse, like people started hoarding stuff. Like people would grab a box of pillows and like, that's what I had.
So it was survival.
One lady was like, I got a whole pack of toilet paper. Like they're literally like, there's no security. So it's like all this camaraderie of like, hey, we're at the Fyre Festival. It becomes night and people start losing their minds. People are stealing stuff from other people's tents. Like, it goes insane. This thing was, like, built off of social media, and apparently one guy who has, like, 400 followers on Twitter posted his sandwich of a gourmet meal that was a cheese sandwich and, like, a couple sprigs of lettuce. And it, like, destroyed it. It went viral and, like, crushed this thing. So, basically, people are, like, trying to get out of there. They flew them out and had no flights to fly them back home.
So he swindled them out of all this money. But he didn't, like, go steal the money. Like, they didn't manage this well, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, it was just all a waste of money. Logistically, they couldn't pull it off, and they didn't realize what they were trying to do in such a short period of time. And they overpromised and underdelivered massively and screwed all these people over. Not to mention the people that provided products and water and food and all this stuff. They didn't get paid.
So what's the aftermath now? What's actually happening?
So there's several people that have credit card companies going after them because Billy used their credit card, maxed it out, and one of the guys is like, now Amex is coming after me for $250,000. That Billy's in jail, I believe. He got back, was in jail, got out on bond, and then started another scam company where he was pretending to sell tickets and stuff through the same. He used the email list that he had built from Fyre Festival and was targeting people.
So did you make it to the second party?
What do you mean what do you mean the second party?
Like, I know you didn't make it to Fyre Festival.
No,
but did you make it to the second scam party?
No, he made it like some completely different thing. It was like New York, whatever,
He got over the
VIP
island
club.
idea, right?
Yeah, and he was like, and so all these people that knew each other and went to that, they're like, yeah, it seems like they're scamming us. Dude, they scam people over and over. They scammed people before they even got there. They were running low on money, and they were like, hey, just so you know, you paid for your ticket, you've done all that stuff. We're going to have wristbands at the event so we can make this a perfectly, like, no cash, no nothing like that. Load up your wristband, and you can just use that to pay for everything. If you want to do this, like, you can load like 1,000. But if you want to get jet skis and have cool parties and pay for this and get private, you might want to load like $3,000 to $4,000. They made $800,000 off of that. Literally just in the first time of people just loading cash onto their thing. So this thing is just like hemorrhaging cash. I don't think this guy collected any of it, if I'm honest.
I'm in the wrong business.
And so this guy screwed people over and then screwed people over again. And now he's in jail for fraud. Like, he's completely ridiculous. Like, it made me uncomfortable how okay this guy was screwing people over.
It's like dirty, but man, I mean, even beyond that, at a local level, day in, day out, how many people you know that you walk, across are getting screwed by some vendor or some service or anything like that? I mean, you got things like Yelp that are...
Chiropractors, I'm looking at you.
That's right, chiropractor.
Yeah. I love shots fired at other chiropractors. It's fun. I love you guys for real. And there's some of you out there that are great, but there's some of you out there that...
I mean, these guys bring new meaning to crackhead, okay?
Crack addicts.
Let's be realistic here, right? But no, seriously, I mean, that was on a grand scale, but I mean, this happens day in, day out. Like sites like Yelp, right? They came along and it's supposed to tell you what's good and what's not. And there's other entities out there that'll sell your reviews. $50 a head, we'll drop a good review for you.
Oh, you can pay to have bad reviews removed. Like, they want you to do that. Like Yelp, I was starting to try to use it for my business, and then all the people I talked to were like, I don't even like Yelp. It's a big scam. And I'm like, okay.
Well, dude, we were in San Antonio for training on these new lasers. And
for your engraving?
Yeah, and where do you go? You go to Yelp, right? You're in a city you don't live in. You want to see where the good restaurants are. We go on. There's this place, 800-plus reviews, 4.5 stars. I'm like, let's hit it. Pull up, and the parking lot's just a little empty. I'm like, I go, it's a Tuesday night.
Isn't that like a rule your dad tells you? Is like, hey, if a parking lot's ever empty of a place, don't go there.
Right?
Unless they have corn dogs, of course.
Corn dogs, of course. And this is not the corn dog story. But we go in, and it's like, this is kind of a little bit upscale from, like, Applebee's. And I'm like, maybe it's all right, We go in. There's no way this place had 800-plus, 4.5-star reviews. It was ridiculous.
You Gordon Ramsay'd that place? You're like,
Dude, it was just terrible. It was like one after another. We went to another place the next night. It was like a Mediterranean place. And I was like, I could really go for some just good Mediterranean food.
Sounds good.
It was atrocious. It was absolutely atrocious. We go in, and they don't even ask you if you want water. You want bread? You want dip? Okay.
Hey, guys, if you run a business, customer service is key. Make it about your people.
It's not just key. I tell folks all the time.
Let's give some business advice here.
Yeah, business advice, right? Like, I call it the lost art of customer service because it's become such a significant differentiator. Nobody knows how to do it anymore. And when you find it, you almost don't believe it. You think you're getting screwed. I've had instances in construction, just building shops. And these guys came in, and one of the best scams is, hey, you're going to pay me as I complete work, right? So we're going to build a building. We're going to come in. We're going to clear the area. We're going to do the concrete. You're going to pay us. We're going to come in. We're going to then put the framing up. You're going to pay us. We're going to finish this and this. You're going to pay us. We put the roof on. You're going to pay us, which as a buyer seems perfectly logical, especially when they tell you they're getting permits and things like that. You want to make sure, let me tell you from experience, that permits were actually pulled. We went through this and paid the guy, did the concrete, and a couple weeks later they come and do the framing. And then I start asking questions. Hey, like where the door goes, there's like a 2-inch gap from one side to the other. How we go about fixing that? Because the concrete's already poured, right? And it's like, oh, we'll get to it. Don't worry, man, we'll get to it. And then they put up lap siding, but instead of lapping it, they just kind of did like a butt up next to each other.
Probably your favorite comment right now. We'll get to it.
We'll get to it, right? So a month goes by, these guys kind of disappear. And I was like, shit, what the frick am I going to do here? I mean, like, I'm out at the time. It was like $8-9 grand. This thing was supposed to be done for 12. It's not done. It's not even usable. So I decided I'm going to call another contractor out to come check it out, see what we got to do. I had 2 guys come out, and they're like, yeah, got to kind of tear this down and start over. And I'm like,
God.
I mean, imagine, Brandon, like these guys took 2x4s and they cut every single one of them down. So they didn't even use like standard size walls. There wasn't one piece of wood on this structure that was usable. So like many of the listeners out there, like in this story that might go and try and chase after these people, I let my ego and emotion get in the way. And, my prior life history, I was in the legal industry, and decided I was going to hire an attorney to go after this bastard. Right?
Okay.
So I walk into this attorney's office. We can help you, no problem. We'll get him served, the whole nine, $2,500. It was like walking from getting screwed once to like, hey, I'm a guy that got screwed. And they're like, come on in, let me help you out. We'll take care of you just fine. So I hire this attorney, and he's like, the first thing we got to do, we got to serve him with papers. Okay, but nobody knows where he is. And I'm a pretty good internet stalker, I'll admit it, right? So and this was a long time ago. This was when it was like still fresh.
Aren't we all nowadays?
This was when it was fresh. So I found the address. I kind of stalked out around his house. I don't see his truck. Like nothing's there. These people like up and left. So we hire a private investigator. Then they find him. And they serve him. And it doesn't mean squat. Right? So they go to court. The guy doesn't show up. We get a default judgment, which is great. This was down in Austin, so it was a default judgment in Travis County. And you know what that gets you? If the guy is stupid enough to open up a bank account in Travis County or do business in Travis County, we could garnish his wages whenever that potentially happens. Now, if it's in Williamson County, the county next door, Dallas County, you got nothing.
Perfect.
Right? And it's all cash deals. Like when you give a check to the contractor, double check it. Does it go into his wife's account? Does it go into the check cashing place on the corner? Mm-hmm. It'll tell you pretty quickly who you're dealing with. But all I can tell you guys and gals out there is don't let the ego get in the way. If you lost, unless it's like ridiculously big, know for sure you could get it back or get some portion of a win. If you walk into an attorney's office and they're not willing to take it on contingency, you probably don't have that strong of a case.
Okay. I could see that. I wouldn't know the first thing about that. Obviously, you said you come from that background. I'm like, I would have no idea.
But you get emotional, you get angry, right? Like, I'm going to get this guy.
For sure. I would be pissed. I would be like, okay, so you did this. Like, you screwed this up so bad, and I paid you, and now I've brought someone else in, and they're telling me we might as well start over, which means you basically did nothing, which is, and
it's worse when they stop answering the phone and the text and all that other shit. Of course. It's like, now you're alone, you're lost, and you feel like you've just been violated. Mm-hmm. Which might be a good segue into this corn dog.
I was about to say, I was going to say something about corn dog, but I was going to make a point before we did that of just, I feel like this is something that we don't necessarily address it as this, but I feel like it's one of the things, Scott having a business, me having a business, and just, when he comes into my office, we just talk about, I feel like coming from a place of integrity, coming from a place where when you're working with people, you're honest with them. You make sure that they understand what's going on. You make sure that they know that they can trust you, and you don't take advantage of that trust. Especially for me, when people are coming in, it's a fine line of like, can you help me? I absolutely think I can help you. Can you cure this? Can you fix this like right now? I'm like, I can't make those promises. I have to be super earnest with you when we're talking about those things. So I always have to make sure I'm managing expectations, obviously.
But you got to tell them, look, I can't overcommit. The last time my people overcommitted, they were hanging them in the center of the town hall, calling them witches.
Mm-hmm. That's right? You just have to be smart. You don't have to be one of those people that's like, or, we cure everything and we do all that. Like, that's not what I'm ever trying to say. I'm just trying to say that I want to be able to help you. I'm so glad that somehow you found me, somebody sent you in, whatever that is. But I always want to make sure I'm honest with you. I want to make sure you're a good fit for what I do. I want to always do those things. And I think it's it's like you said, it's the lost art of customer service. It's the my word is my word. And you can take me at that. I feel like that is so rare now.
You know what just struck me? Like every time I give you a referral, when they come in, I want you to say, it's so cool that Scott cares that much about you that he referred you to me.
Okay, I got it.
Wouldn't that be cool? Like, how'd you find out about me? They tell you, and you say, it's pretty awesome that person cares this much about you, that he would send you or she would send you my way.
I like that. We say something similar. I'm like, I'll make sure that I thank him, but I love the...
But it's so deep because it further defines that relationship between those other two people. It's like you're giving. You know what I mean? Like before you even start.
But I also think it shows like this circle of like, we care, we give a shit about you. Like that's ultimately the goal. Like, hey, he cares about you enough to send you here, and I care enough about you to make sure that I do my job. Because when Scott says that, now he's put his stamp of approval on me. And if I drop the ball, now his stamp loses credit, essentially. That's on one of my favorite shows, actually. They talk about, like, oh, you stamp everyone. Like, your stamp doesn't mean anything. It's on How I Met Your Mother episode.
Right. Like a lot of these, and I'm going to call them out, a lot of these different networking groups out there, right? You know, you go, it's a group of people, and you're supposed to make all these referrals inside to the group. But it's something I've always struggled with when I go to these groups because you don't know what the services, you don't know what the people are, and just because they chose to sign up for the same thing you signed up for doesn't immediately give them credibility. And I knew that going in, and on the very first group that I joined, I mean, I kind of went out on a limb and tried a couple of these things, and I'll tell you what, I tried them first on my own, and it didn't work out good for me. So there's no way in hell
that you're putting your stamp on that. I could refer them
to anybody. And I put the olive branch out there.
Which is usually how a lot of those groups work. I work with you. I do this. Like it's normally a lot of internal stuff, and then you're like, well, we'll go from there.
Right.
Which I think if you're good at that, boom, like it's game over. But if it's not, or if they just don't understand how that works, I feel like that's the struggle. Because me and you talk about that all the time. Like we're a part of a group. We don't have to mention it, but it's one of those things that we talk about. Of just like, you know, it's going to take time to win me over. Like I'm not one of those people that I'm just like, yeah, you seem like a great person. I'm like, I'm probably going to be slightly skeptical about you and the way that you work in business. And sadly, that's because of the way that it is now of how people work. Like you could screw me over super easily. And so I have to have one foot out the door basically. And I'm like, I hate that mentality. I'm not that person. But I think in what you're talking about, I have to have that. There's no choice.
There's absolutely no choice.
Okay, so I felt like we got super heavy. So Scott, why don't you hit us with this really cool...
Let's lighten things up with this giant corn dog story.
Ooh, giant. For the ladies.
This is a two-handed corn dog story.
Oh, May, don't look at me like that. We've got our podcast people here that are just like, oh, okay.
Hey, hands on your knees.
Jose and Ame, Dance Teachers Academy. Check it out. We'll just give them a plug here.
There you go.
They're hooking us up. I mean, come on, guys. Go check it out.
So, took some of my team out for lunch today. We went to this local establishment here in Richardson called the Dog House. Have you been there yet?
I haven't been there, but I have heard of this place.
Again, no plugs for anyone per se, but you put your burgers or your hot dogs on King's Hawaiian rolls, you're good with me. Okay.
Okay.
Absolutely, yeah. Right? Like how all these other places aren't doing that is just the lost art of customer service, right? I mean, that's just where we're at. So we go in, we sit down, and if this was you, I'm sorry, but this was really funny. So these two guys come in. I don't know if they were brothers or they just gamed together, whatever the case may be. I asked my team, I think they might go to the same stylist. You know, they might not be actually related. And this guy, he's sitting there, man. He's got this corn dog. I never seen a corn dog so big. I mean, this thing had some girth on it.
Did they like triple fry it? I mean, how do you get that thing?
Dude, this thing was like the dude was eating it with two hands. You know, like Fletcher's corny dogs at the state fair. I mean, that's a nice thin dog. And
I was about to say,
I never see anyone walking around the state fair with two hands on that little corn dog. You know what I mean? And those are decent size.
Yeah, you're talking like a turkey leg of a corn dog.
This thing was a fatty, man. This thing was a fatty. And he's sitting there and he's looking at this thing, and he's grabbing his mustard and he puts a little bit on the tip. And I go to my coworker. I'm like, you guys got to watch this. This is going to be absolutely fucking crazy. And
this is the stuff you have to Facebook Live.
He's looking at this.
I'm disappointed in you for not capturing this.
He's looking at the. Well, they're videoing. Maybe we'll take a snippet or whatever.
No, I mean capturing the actual guy doing this. Dude, I would have pulled my phone out.
It would have been bad. It would have been. I would have
Insta Live this thing. People would have seen it. I would have been a viral sensation. The corn dog guy. I captured the corn dog guy.
It would have been viral for me, but if they would have and I got my ass beat by two gamers that go to the same stylist, I mean, it would have been terrible. So anyway, it takes a lot for me to like not do stupid stuff like that, and this was one of those one of those moments. So me and two of my coworkers got to enjoy watching this with my comedic commentary in the background. So he's sitting there, man. He's looking at this thing, and he's like, "I'm gonna put this in my mouth." I mean, I can see that's what's going on in his head, right? And he kind of raises that sucker up. He's got one hand on the stick and one hand on the dog, and he just kind of brings it up nice and slow and takes a little bite. And he's looking at it, and I took a look too. That was a gray hot dog. And I don't know if that was like a corn brat or a corn dog or what, but that sucker was gray. And I'm sitting there thinking,
zombie dog.
That's some old meat, you know? That's some old chub, right? That's some old meat. So
Old Chub, not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor yet, right? So over and over, like, and I'm just sitting there watching this whole thing. I'm like, I can't believe this is fucking happening. I'm like, he's not looking to the left, to the right. He's just like him and this fatty corn dog. And he finished that whole freaking thing, and like the three of us were just
like
sitting there.
Man.
I've got them laughing. I mean, it was absolutely freaking hysterical. By far the best lunch I've had in a while, and the food was pretty good too.
So you put your stamp on the doghouse.
Yeah, it's rare.
Not only for the food, but for the environment and the entertainment possibly that could happen by watching other people.
I mean, it was a full house.
Choke down a dog.
It was a full house, pun intended. I mean, but there were lots of people in there, and you know, if you're looking for good people watching and some good food,
everybody's always looking for good people watching.
I did not have any disappointments.
And speaking of people watching, I almost guarantee you my story, there had to have been some people watching. So now that you've shared your...
Did you chew?
Your Snoop Doggy Dog
Did you chew?
story. I'm going to share mine.
Tell us how you ate this corn dog.
So me and my wife met in Tulsa. So we went to the Tulsa State Fair. We were probably about 6 months into dating. And it's funny that you bring up corn dogs. Listen, I'm a corn dog man. When I go to the State Fair, I got to have a corn dog.
Have you seen the movie Kids?
No, I don't think so.
It was around the year you were born. It was pretty bad.
Oh, my gosh. Don't even try it. Don't even come at me with that.
I'm not going to go there.
So
some of you know what that's all about. Go ahead.
We go to the State Fair. I can't even remember how long we have been dating, but we go to the State Fair, and we're walking around, and I'm like, I got to get a corn dog, and my, not wife, but then girlfriend, she's like, I'll go get him. So she goes, gets 2 corn dogs, I think like something to drink, comes over, and she's got one, and she passes me one. So I take it, and I'm like, oh, I'm so pumped. Like, as much as we ripped this other guy, if Scott saw me in the doghouse, he'd probably be like, look at this guy. Like, he can't even control himself.
That dude's salivating.
Oh, and so I'm
is he
like,
having a seizure, or is that drool coming out of his mouth?
I don't even have the picture on my phone anymore because I would love to prove it to you. I'm not kidding you. It comes in like white.
After he got married, the background became him and his wife instead of just this corn dog.
No, trust me. I saved it for the longest time because no one believed it. I made her take a picture of me holding it.
Single-handedly?
Yes, because of what I'm about to tell you. So, listen, for those of you that don't understand anatomy, I'm about to give you a lesson real quick. So, it's got like that white, wrapping paper around it. And I'm like, yeah, baby, corn dog. Unwrap this thing, roll the paper down. I'm about to eat this thing. And my corn dog, I don't know if the people who made it did this. I don't know if it was just by a happy accident. But the fact that it happened to me is just like poetic justice.
Happy accident?
Exactly. There is, I'm not kidding you, a burnt ring that goes around the end of it that's in like a semi-curved direction, as you can imagine.
Curved to the left?
So you can almost imagine like the tip of my corn dog.
Hang on, curved to the left or curved to the right?
There's no curve to the left. A curve going around.
Oh, like...
Almost as in like a mushroom
like
topped...
an injection.
No, almost as in like a mushroom-topped corn dog that almost looks...
that corn dog wasn't processed.
Oh,
that might have been the real deal, man.
Trust me. Corn dog. But I swear to this day that the people that were there like put it on the edge of the fryer and like rolled this thing around and did it in like this, for the people who are watching on video, you can like see what I'm doing. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, people always think I'm making this up, and for the longest time I had the picture. I don't know what happens if I find it. I'll post it somewhere and I'll share it. Literally, I pull this thing out and I'm looking at it, and it looks like a penis, people. Okay? It looks like...
You said it.
Hey.
Yes. It looks like a 10-incher, and I'm just holding this thing.
Hey, so did you eat it or suck it?
Hold on. You're jumping ahead of the story here. So the first thing that I do is I unroll it, I unwrap it, and I look right at my wife, then girlfriend, and I'm like, did you do this on purpose? And she looks at me like I'm crazy. She's like, what are you talking about?
Like it's a fucking hot dog.
And I show it to her, and she dies laughing.
Yep.
So, listen, and my wife, sweet as can be,
So you guys
her head is not like that.
So you
Like,
guys switched corn dogs.
no. I'm like, you need to eat this. She's like, I ain't taking that. That's your corn dog. I gave you that corn dog. I'm like,
That's beyond. That exceeds my size limit.
so first of all, you got to take the picture. I'm like, you have to take a picture of this. No one's going to believe that I got a penis-shaped corn dog. Everyone's going to be like, all corn dogs look like... No, guys. Burnt crust ring to look like a mushroom-tipped... Like, I can't describe it any more than that.
So you're saying your corn dog was not circumcised?
No, it was.
Oh, it was.
This was defined. Like,
This
we
burned
have,
in.
We have definition of, like, that's what it would look like.
Was there a vein
Like,
in this corn dog?
like imagine a deep-fried dilder.
Deep fried what?
Dilder. I'm trying to be a little appropriate, so I'm not going to go into the fact that
Dilder?
it's... Yeah, it's like
man.
my funny version
Don't
of
be
saying
so
dildo.
rude. Come on, let's go.
No. It's my...
Say things people want to hear.
It's how I've always pronounced dildo. It's a dilder. Just imagine one of those that's been dipped in some
You'll have
batter.
to forgive him. He's from Oklahoma.
Get out of here. And I'll tell you this. Listen, this is how we're going to end the story. This is how I always end the story whenever I tell this. The hardest thing for me was the first bite.
You know what? You know what the moral of the story is? For some reason, they have penis-shaped corn dogs in Oklahoma.
Yep. Pretty much. Tulsa State Fair.
So
Some guy still tells this story of like, man, I made one that looked just like a penis one time.
And
I sold it to this cute little blonde girl.
And
I saw her walk over and give it to some 6'4" white guy. It was hilarious. And he ate it.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh. See, this is literally, guys, this is exactly what this podcast is about. You can't make up moments like this. The fact that Scott had a corn dog story, and guess what? I had one too. So, moving on from our corn dogness, let's get a little bit more serious. So, I want to go over just a couple more things, and then I've got a fun little thing where I want to ask you like a quick... The goal is to see how fast you could do this. I've got 20 questions. I want you to answer them as fast as you can so that our beautiful, fantastic, corn dog loving listeners can get... That might have to go in our logo now. I'm going to have to do that. It's going to be like the underlying hilarious thing the whole time. So...
Don't Be So Brewed. It'll be two guys holding a corn dog together.
Yes.
I like it.
So I want to get your opinion super quick. I was going to crucify this, but we'll just talk about it. So the makers of football helmets have come out with this new technology that's now diamond technology that they're talking about. It's digital design, 3D printed, high performance, impact absorbent, and tunable lattice helmet liners that are first of their kind, #ProtectItAll, that it's going to be able to help prevent concussions.
Okay.
What's your opinion about this? You could just make it super quick. I could tell mine, and then we want to make sure we wrap this thing up.
Man, I think it's a pretty cool idea. I was at a alumni meeting this week for my alma mater, Rochester Institute of Technology, and they actually brought a guy in to talk about 3D printing. And I knew enough about it just from being a consumer of that type of stuff, but I learned so much more. And it's kind of funny that you bring this up because I've had a lot of things come up this week on 3D printing, but one of the things that he had spoken about, which kind of relates to this, one of the students in his class invented a headband made of a similar type material where it's a woven 3D printed headband that's got material on it. So her thought was, and they've gone into business since, was, for basketball players, soccer players, anyone that could be playing on hardwood, volleyball, you fall, you hit your head, this thing would be there to protect you
Absorbs.
from, taking that blow. From a football aspect, I think it's great. I mean, if they want to be safe, for what some of these guys are getting paid, I think it'd be great to just do it with no helmets. It'd definitely make things a lot more interesting. Right?
Potentially, yep.
But from a safety aspect, I think I don't think this could hurt. Anything that could help prevent permanent brain damage and people getting messed up later in life I think it's a good thing.
And I 100% agree with that aspect of it. I think the other thing is, listen, the NFL owns 2 days of the week, moving into 3 days a week basically now. Whenever anything's going on with the NFL, guess what? People are watching. There's, sports leagues made off of this where you draft players and do all that stuff. Like, I get all that stuff. And so people are all about it. You're not going to kill the NFL with the CTE stuff that's going on.
But they're taking it seriously. I mean, even the concussion protocols, there's a lot that's changed just in recent years. I don't know if that's just the press or people giving a damn or people wanting to stay alive and,
For sure, and I'm glad. This is a very rare instance where people are actually being proactive with what's going on. My one thing, and this is the one time I would talk about something reactive, you need to have a program in place for afterwards that's able to help athletes that have gone through this sort of trauma. Because I know with the line of work that I do that people who struggle with this, I've seen NFL football players, I've taken care of them. I know what goes on and what they deal with. And I think it's one of those things that I'm glad that you're doing all these proactive things. But in hindsight, afterwards, when people retire, you need to have some plan in place that allows them to come see, in my opinion, someone like me that's able to help them get their life back to normal. I think there needs to be what's called a deconditioning program. They get you back to eating what would be normal and sustainable for a human because, listen, you're massive and they want to keep you massive and you're working out hard. They need to get you to moving properly. You move the way that you need to move for the sport. They need to make you a more functional person, bringing you back into the reality of what life is like. So we can get into that on another one. I don't want to go super deep into it, but it is one of those things for me that it's just like, I love that they're doing that, but my opinion has always been that we need to do something. Once these guys are done, they've literally poured their lives out there so the NFL can make tons of money, and they need to do something that's helping them out.
Hey, man, it's not just NFL. NFL, in my opinion, is a small population of people getting paid very well to do it. Mm-hmm. I would challenge what you're saying to some degree and say we got to do more for the veterans that come back from protecting this country.
100%.
And if money was going to go somewhere, I'd rather see it go there than to the guys that got millions of dollars that if they want to go seek that help, they could afford to go seek that help.
I agree.
There's a lot of people that can't, that need the help.
I agree. Listen, and we'll get into that on the next one. I'll write that down. That's a good one to get into because I share a pretty strong opinion that's very similar to you on that one. Question for you, super quick. Super Bowl's coming up, obviously. Rams, Patriots. Are you a Rams hate? Here's what I've seen is people are either Patriots haters or they at least have respect for them. Now, I get it, the Raving fans.
I have respect for the Patriots and Tom Brady. I'm a 100%. Yankee fan, so I understand what it's like being, following a team that just constantly wins. Mm-hmm. But you got to hand it to these guys, man. I mean, quarterback's 40, 41 years old, and he's just still absolutely on point.
Oh, yeah, he's crushing it. That's my thing is like the respect of that.
You can't not. I mean, you're looking at, to see this come again, it'd be amazing to see in our lifetime.
100%. You're watching history being made in front of you. People just don't realize it.
Yeah. I think he's a class act. I think he's kind of like Derek Jeter level type class act when he was playing ball.
I agree. I think when people step back and they actually, you're making a judgment on a person that you only watch maybe one time a week and that's in a football game and you don't really get any context about the person that he is. So for me, it's one of those things in talking to people and patients and all that stuff, when people come in and they talk to me, it's either that I like them and I respect them or they have to have cheated some way in order to get there. It's the two sides that I've pretty much seen with the Patriots. So I'm always interested to see what people's opinions are on that. I know it's one of those things that people are like, I hate them because they win. I'm like,
hey man, you know what? I got one of those golf balls we printed. You know what we put on it?
Printed golf balls.
Printed golf balls. You know what we put on it? The best thing about winning is cheating. It's fun.
I had a high school coach that told me if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. So I'm just saying, So to close out, what I'm going to do a quick few questions here. I'm going to ask them to Scott. Scott's going to try to rattle these answers off as quick as he can, and then we're going to close this thing out. So Basically, you just answer these as honest and as quickly as you can. So
This is all truth. No
first question, texting or talking?
Talking.
Favorite day of the week?
Saturday.
Favorite city in the United States besides the one you live in?
Maui.
Ooh. Nickname your parents used to call you?
Bondini.
I'm Brandoni, so that's funny.
Are you really?
What are the chances? Oh, this is just so meant to be. I love it. So, last song you listened to?
I don't know what it was. It was in the truck on the way over.
Ah, that's true. We were talking. It's probably tough to even know.
It was right. Well, when I picked you up, it was Bare Naked Ladies. So that was not the song, but the group. And I couldn't tell you what songs. I'm just not good at knowing songs and groups.
There you go, Bare Naked Ladies. Would you rather be able to speak every language in the world or be able to talk to animals?
Talk to animals.
Oh, I love that you answered that. That is a heated question in my group of friends. Heated question. Favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving.
How long does it take you to get ready?
5 minutes.
Scale of 1 to 10, how good of a driver are you?
11.
Fill in the blank. Taylor Swift is...
A singer.
Oh, come on. Oh, my gosh. You could have just... So many things I would expect from you, and you say that. At what age do you want to retire?
41. I just turned 40.
Love it.
If I hit it by 50, I'd be ecstatic.
Invisibility or super strength?
Invisibility.
Is it wrong for a vegetarian to eat animal crackers?
No.
Scale of 1 to 10, how good are you at keeping secrets?
1.
Ariel or Jasmine?
Ariel.
Oh, get out of here. You are done. As you can tell, my answer is Jasmine.
Don't like fish?
First celebrity crush?
Paula Abdul.
Oh, yeah. Dawn or dusk? Weird question.
Dusk.
If you could travel back in time, what period would you go to?
50s.
Favorite junk food? Say it.
Say what? Say it. What?
Corn dogs.
Corn dogs. Favorite junk food? Doritos.
Nacho cheese or Cool Ranch? This is
Nacho cheese.
Cool Ranch, bro. Come on.
Hey,
this is why we balance each other. This is why we're good for this.
You want to know the difference, right? I was born before you. When you came around, Cool Ranch was just coming out.
It's true. It's true.
That was the new thing.
Favorite childhood TV show?
Oh, gosh. Probably a toss-up between Tom and Jerry and Woody Woodpecker.
Oh, Tom and Jerry. Classic. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate.
Say a word in Spanish.
Hola.
I knew it. I knew you were going to be like, hola. Favorite number?
7.
Who has it easier, men or women?
Women.
And we just lost
Don't be so brewed.
We just lost a bunch of subscribers. We're done. Ame just left the room. She's out.
Come on, if you had to live with me, you'd have it easy, right?
Oh, my gosh. Your poor wife. I'm
Next
sorry.
week, my wife will be on this.
Have you ever worn socks and sandals?
No.
Why can't we tickle ourselves?
Because it's not funny.
What's the best age?
35.
Love it. Last question. Is double dipping at a party ever acceptable?
Never acceptable, Jerry. Never acceptable.
Yes. I love the reference. For those of you that don't know, that's Seinfeld, by the way. Come on. I don't know how you wouldn't know that. All right, guys. So the good news is for you is that is all that we have for you guys today. We won't sit here and take up any more of your time.
You're getting 20 questions next week. I
Perfect.
promise you.
I was about to say, you make up your own, or you can use mine if we want to make me.
All right. We'll make it interesting.
I was about to say, Scott, I'm sure will come up with his own. So thank you guys so much. Scott, I'm terrible at outros. I've been trying to do this on all my social media. Like, I'll let you say whatever you want to say. I'll say what I want to say, and then we'll just be like, peace. I can't drop the mic, though.
About what? Business?
Just close it. Just whatever you want your closing statement to be when we're on the podcast.
Closing statement to be. I haven't given this any thought whatsoever. I want to thank you all for giving us a chance and checking us out. that's pretty much it.
That's your closing?
For now. I'll have something better next week.
Perfect. Thank you for thank you for watching or listening to Don't Be So Brewed. I'm Dr. Brandon Brown, and I approve this message.
Phenomena. Phenomena. Phenomena.